Why are streets named how they are? What significance do they have for our understanding of a neighbourhood? These questions have provoked us to take a drift through a local neighbourhood in Gabalfa, Cardiff, taking a deeper look at some of the road names to try and find an answer to these questions. Walking is the best way to explore and exploit the city. Drifting purposely is the recommended mode. The area we are exploring is known as the Colonies, in the southern part of Gabalfa. The area consists of Australia Road, Canada Road, Newfoundland Road, New Zealand Road and Africa Gardens. We wanted to study these roads because they are so differently named to those roads surrounding them.
For centuries, Gabalfa was a sparsely populated hamlet in the parish of Cardiff. Its name means the place of the ferry. This is a reminder of how people crossed the River Taff before a bridge was built on Western Avenue. The ONS recorded Gabalfa as having a population of 9,615 people in 2008, 50% of whom were recorded as full-time students. Our drift took us along each of these roads in sequence and prompted us to ask ourselves some questions. How old are the roads and the buildings? Was this significant? Were the roads named after countries because they were in the British Empire? Are they now members of the Commonwealth? What image is conjured up by the road names? Are the two realities similar? Why do the locals think they are named as they are? Are they proud of the difference? For what occasion was the paving on Canada Road designed and laid?
The 1880s was an interesting period in the history of British planning. Slums that had sprung up during the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century needed to be replaced and improved upon, after the majority of the slums were knocked down in 1875. Shanty towns consisting of back-to-back houses and cellar dwellings, now a thing of the past, and developers had to come up with better housing. This mass clearing of houses meant large swathes of land with which developers could build on. As we move into the 1900s, small numbers of housing had been built on Whitchurch Road as the area became more developed, and some allotment gardens had also appeared to make use of the green space. However, the majority of the area remained largely untouched until the 1920s.
Between the 1900s and the 1920s, both the TCPA 1909 and the 1919 Housing Act were passed, which prevented the building of back-to-back homes and provision of central government money to provide housing schemes. This led to the sharp increase in terraced housing, leading to the creation of the area of streets and heath known as the Colonies. The allotment gardens which had appeared in the 1900s were built over. This drive to build homes for heroes may have in part led to the naming of the streets. All of the street names include names of the countries that fought on the side of the Allies in the First World War. As we move through into the 1940s and into the present day, the area has undergone more development, but along the same lines as before, with yet more terraced housing being constructed and an additional number of roads.
We noticed how history must have been important when naming these roads. The roads were built around the time when the British Empire was falling and the Commonwealth was forming. The British Empire was the largest formal empire that the world has ever known, the peak of which was after World War I. In 1931, the Statute of Westminster declared that all dominions were independent countries within the British Empire. A dominion was a colony that had been granted a significant freedom in ruling themselves. From 1949 onwards, this became known as the Commonwealth of Nations.
British sovereignty of New Zealand was established under the 1840 Treaty of Waitangi, a pact between Maori chiefs and the British government over land rights. New Zealand became a colony in 1840 before becoming a dominion some 67 years later, in 1907.
Throughout the course of the British Empire, there are a total of 21 colonies in the continent of Africa, the most significant of which were South Africa, Egypt and southern Rhodesia, now known as Zimbabwe. By 1980, all of these colonies had gained independence, with 14 of the former colonies remaining as part of the Commonwealth.
Newfoundland was a colony within the Empire from 1610 until 1728, with Dominion status obtained in 1907. In 1949, it became the 10th province of Canada.
The area known today as Canada had been under British rule since 1763, but it wasn't until 1867 that the Federation of Canada as we know it was born. It wasn't until 1982 that Canada ensured its independence with the Canada Act, with the Act coming as a result of the Canadian federal government's request to patriate.
Australia was founded through an influx of European settlers, with the British founding the first settlement in 1788. Independence was achieved in 1942. By 1986, all constitutional links with the UK had been severed, although it still remains part of the Commonwealth.
20th of November 1926. We aren't losing an empire, but gaining a Commonwealth. The British Empire had a historic facelift today. An imperial conference in London announced that Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa and Newfoundland will be self-governing dominions. Under the Crown they will have equal status with Britain as members of the Commonwealth of Nations and be masters of their own destiny. I first heard about Australia Road when I was looking for houses last year. I was quite interested. I wondered why it had been named after that. It sounded like quite a nice place.
I don't see why they're named as they are, because they're places in Wales and not half the world away.
I expected a green space like a savannah on Africa Gardens. There was a green area, but the vegetation was not African.
When I heard the name Newfoundland Road, I was interested because Newfoundland isn't exactly a prominent place, so I was wondering why the street was named after it.
They call me the hippopotamus, flows that glow like phosphorus, popping off the top of this esophagus, rocking this metropolis. I'm not a large water-dwelling mammal. Where did you get that preposterous hypothesis? Did Steve tell you that perchance? Steve.
The housing in this area is in the typical style of most of Cardiff. The houses are terraced. They have porches with tiled walls. There are bay windows with gabled roofs.
On our drift we came across a regenerated area at the top of Canada Road. We found a patterned street floor with paving stones dedicated to Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Newfoundland and Africa. This had previously been an area of illegal parking, antisocial behaviour and a danger to the school children, so the council's neighbourhood renewal schemes programme, along with artists and the school children from Ms Goldmaneth Baikan, regenerated this area into the scene we see today. This is a reminder of how local people are proud of the streets they live in, wanting to improve its appearance and form a striking appearance to the countries to who their roads are dedicated to. The school children designed the artwork, drawing inspiration from the names of the surrounding streets. The scheme is regarded locally as a success. As Gabalfa councillor of the time Ed Bridges said, "We are very excited about this scheme and that the excitement is clearly shared by all. The changes will make the area by Ms Goldmaneth Baikan a lot more attractive for the parents and pupils who use it, as well as for local residents."
Streets are named by the council and have been ever since the Public Health Act of 1925, as amended by 1847 Town Improvement Clauses Act section. When naming streets, the council considers the history of an area and will generally adopt names from the locality or names of prominent individuals who have made a considerable contribution to the community. To comply with its Welsh language policy, the council has resolved to utilise an equal balance of Welsh and English names and will only use bilingual signs in the central area of the city. This again shows the importance of history and politics, and the times the roads were built, and how people wanted to relay these streets to which they lived in.
I'm proud to live in the colonies. It reminds me of the history.
When asked about renaming roads, we wanted to keep the history element that we have learned is so important, but we also want to embrace the Welsh language. Therefore, we would rename each of the roads: Australia Road 2,
Australia,
Canada Road 2,
Canada,
Newfoundland Road 2,
I Tir Newydd,
New Zealand Road 2,
Seland Newydd,
and finally Africa Gardens 2.
Africa.
It would cost £1,250 to rename all 5 roads.
But what would the locals think of this? Do you think the road name should be changed to Welsh?
No.
Why?
Because nobody can read it.
No one can read it. But what?
No, everyone can read it, but
Don't you think
it's not just Welsh people in Cardiff. Even, I don't know, I think they should have bilingual signs.
Understand the meaning of a place name, and you will be closer to knowing the place.